लावतो म्हणजे आपले
बंद झालं, गेली
काय फक्त त्यांची कॉलेजचं नेटवर्क
आहे ना,
15 मिनिट त्यामुळे काय असतं. आणि माझ्या तिथं पण आहे, 15 मिनिट होणार आहे लाईट गेली.
चलो ना, नाही केले की नाही, टेस्ट केले की नाही. बरं ठीक आहे. ओके, इंट्रोडक्शन वगैरे सांगून ठेवलं सगळं की जातो. हा ठीक आहे, जसं तुम्ही तसं म्हणजे हा मास्टरपीस.
ठीक आहे. हे करून येणार आहे.
ऑडिओ अरे तोपर्यंत हे लावायचं का? सकाळपासून पाऊस. कधी चालू झूम मध्ये ऑटोमॅटिक रेकॉर्ड करायला लागेल. झूम मध्ये ऑटोमॅटिक रेकॉर्ड करायला लागेल. आपण कसं कनेक्ट करणार नाही. आपण आपलं चालू आहे. माईक चालू आहे. हो आहे सर. कनेक्ट केलंय का? केलं. हेच आहे ना. आवाज यायला या मिनिट मध्ये तुम्ही सरांनी सांगितलं काय केलं तुम्ही मला तर आवाज काय येत नाही म्हणणार. कनेक्ट केलंय पण आवाज येत नाही.
हे आपली ऍड होची ऑन केले की
हॅलो, हा संजू, आवाज येतोय?
हॅलो हॅलो हॅलो
हा,
हॅलो.
आवाज येतोय का?
हॅलो. हा
Hello, can you hear me?
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good
Yeah.
afternoon. Good afternoon.
We just have your introduction and then we can start.
Sure.
Yeah.
Welcome back all students and teachers.
Welcome students. We are circulating attendance sheet in State of itself. It has all 6 branches. Means heading of the branch is particularly written on the particular page. Okay, so you have to write submit your attendance on particular branch itself. Thank you.
Dr. Ajay Chaudhary is one of the founders of HCL Infosys. He holds a bachelor's degree in electronics and telecommunication engineering from Development Engineering College. He has been awarded honoris causa by IIT Roorkee and attended an executive program at the School of Business Administration at the University of Michigan in the US.
2011, he was awarded the Commission Award by the President of India for helping in the IT and electronics industry. He has received many awards, including the Electronics Man of the Year 2012, CITC India Movement Award in 2012, and Cyber Media Business ICT Award 2013.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Sir, you can start.
Okay, should I start?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm very happy to be with all of you today and to be part of this induction program at the Walchand Engineering College. And it's been a very well-known institution for a very long time. So it's good to be here. And many times, a lot of students who join up in engineering always look forward to different aspects, etc. And fundamentally, and most times, really, people who come out of engineering are looking for jobs. And sometimes they become entrepreneurs. More and more of the latter is happening today when students come out and they become entrepreneurs. Some become entrepreneurs within doing any engineering makes you extremely analytical. And that's what's helped me in my career after engineering, because I could actually do a lot of work around this, specifically trying to do either A, B, or C. Now, most engineers today in the country, when they actually come out of engineering, they choose to move towards software. And this is happening a lot for the last 15, 20 years. And it's natural that most of the engineers tend to look towards software. And a lot of IT companies come to the campus and they typically tend to hire a lot of engineers because, as I said, engineers are very analytical and they are very mathematical. So therefore, a lot of software companies take engineers as their entry-level programmers. Now, that is really what's been happening till now. And the reasons for everybody getting attracted to software very obvious. The reason for everybody getting attracted to a lot of IT companies. We are nearly into a situation of doing $200 billion worth of software exports from India. So more and more programmers are needed, people are needed to work in software companies. And as I said, it's quite obvious why people join software. And the most obvious reason is salary. And they get drawn to that direction while having done engineering. Now, seats are limited all over the country, and certain people get to join the better engineering institutions. But why are institutions being built all over the world? Institutions are built to create great people who come out of these institutions. And if you actually look at most of the top universities in the world, what do they really look for when they create these institutions? They create these institutions so that many of the students who come out should make a mark on the society. It's not just about studying engineering. You need to make a mark, and you need to leave behind something that you learn. So this whole draw that's been happening for the last so many years towards software is something that I worry about, despite the fact that I also come from an IT company background. And why do I worry about that? I worry about that is the fact that we do not want all engineers to become coders. And that's not why you do engineering. The reason why you do engineering is totally different. The reason why you do engineering is that you want to innovate and create, do something with your doing design or R&D or engineering or manufacturing job. So this whole situation needs to be looked at very clear skills and capabilities now will be over the world today. It's a very different yesterday. The model was that the world was interconnected. And this interconnected and interdependent world was where different countries worked together and created policies so that they could work very closely with each other. So if you took let's say, an example of an Apple product, the product would be designed in California. It would be manufactured in China, but the parts may be coming from Taiwan, Japan, Vietnam, and anywhere in Europe. So these parts would be all coming in to the Chinese facility based on the design that's been done in California. It would all be integrated, manufactured, and sent out to the rest of the world. So this interconnected world where these supply chains of different components come together is what the world was till yesterday. Some changes are taking place due to many factors. Factor number one is that China seems to have an issue with Taiwan. And this China-Taiwan situation is creating a lot of tension in this area. In addition, Taiwan has a very good neighbor called Vietnam. And Vietnam and China have been working together literally as a single country to create many products. And a lot of manufacturing moved from China to Vietnam. But China is today having trouble with Vietnam also. So this whole geopolitical situation and the Ukraine war, COVID, and a very strong action in China to close down any city if there are only 5 cases of COVID, even today, has changed the world. And this change is happening where every country is now starting to think of themselves. And no longer are they looking at cooperating with different countries and creating a global chain where parts can come from anywhere, and it could be a global supply chain, as it's called. So this self-centered situation of the whole world has resulted in many new ways of working for different countries. So in America, there is a very strong movement taking place today where they all say, buy American products. Do not buy from China. Do not buy from any other country. China is the factory of the world. So how can Americans not buy Chinese products? So as a result of that, there is a strong movement taking place of America. And this whole issue of the lowest cost country like China is changing. Americans are saying, doesn't matter if China is cheaper, any product. So it's a very, Professor Marathe has seen till now. We have all looked at, we are now looking at a world which is so different. India is also very strongly advocating and this whole model, make in India, be vocal about changing. And in this changing world, there are a lot of interesting opportunities for a country like India. And these opportunities will enable India to make products for the world. And therefore, what will India need? India will need a lot of design engineers who can create products in India for the world. And that's why this whole opportunity today for engineers who come out of engineering institutes, they should focus on doing more engineering work rather than get caught up with the lure of high salaries in software. As I said, I'm from an IT company, but I'm still telling you, don't look at software only. Some of you should look at software. If you're from a computer science background, sure, go ahead and get a very good opportunity in software. But rest of you who are from electronics, mechanical, electrical, civil, aeronautical, all these should look at engineering opportunities. Why should you look at engineering opportunities? The reason for it is that the world is today looking at India for engineering and design capability. So you look at the whole situation today, the world is looking at engineers to design products in India. And therefore, what did China do to be successful? China did something very unique. They partnered with Taiwan to create a large number of design companies. So if anybody, anywhere in the world wanted a product, they would go to one of these design companies. So there were design companies for air conditioners, there are design companies for washing machines, there are design companies for tablets, there are design companies for phones. There are thousands of these design companies in China. And what do? You are, let's say you are Usha or you are Lava. You go to China, you go to a design company, they will design the product according to your requirements. So for example, when Micromax started their phone business in India, they went to a Chinese company and said, look, I want 2 SIMs and I want a long-lasting battery. And they got that designed in China, got it manufactured in China, and started selling in India as an Indian product called Micromax. What did it do to the market? It changed the market because they were the first to recognize that India needs 2 SIMs and India needs a long-lasting battery. So China actually helped Micromax to be successful. And similarly, Usha goes to China and Havells goes to China and gets all its products made. But even European companies have been doing that. Even American companies have been doing that. They go to China, they go to a design house, get their products designed, and they put a label on top and sell it as if it's their own product. This is the way the world was till yesterday. Now with this whole new situation, lots of countries are working on becoming more Atmanirbhar and self-centered. And that's where the opportunities for India, where we could be the product nation for the world. We could be designing our own products, we could be marketing our own products, we could be selling them globally. So this whole situation that has changed is going to be giving great opportunities to engineers and designers out of India. And why is it that people would look at India? Because we have the youngest population in the world and we have the largest number of engineering students coming out every year. So what was Vietnam as a manufacturing destination yesterday out of China will now become India, where people will look at design and manufacturing and rather than just manufacturing. So where are these opportunities going to be for students who come out? Will be in different areas. More and more areas will open up. Today, there are so many areas in electronics. There are so many areas in white goods. People today in India, and lots of startups are making drones in India. India has actually banned import of drones from China because it was a security risk. And we wanted to be Atmanirbhar. So suddenly there are hundreds of drone companies in India trying to make drones. Similarly, India is taking a very big leadership position in electric vehicles, where there are two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers. Delhi city, where I live, 9% of vehicles today are electric. So this whole movement towards electric is becoming very strong. And I have met many, many startups in the country today who are designing and making electric vehicles in India, chargers in India, components for electric vehicles in India. Similarly, if you look at the space industry, space till yesterday in India was limited to government. Everything was done by ISRO. Last 4 years, 5 years, space has been opened up to startups. Space has been opened up to private sector. And today, lots of large companies in India are making products and parts for ISRO. And startups in India today, there are hundreds of space startups in India today. And they are making from rockets to launchers to communication devices, they're making a large number of products in India. Similarly, if you start to look at medical devices, India today imports of its medical devices. Now, we should be looking at designing in India for the world. So I've actually been mentoring a company in Pune that has made a world-class ventilator. And they are now designing more and more electronic products, medtech products for the world. And they are doing it with technology, which is absolutely current. All medical devices all over the world are using old microprocessors. Indian companies are designing new electronics pieces with modern microprocessors, which are faster, which are cheaper, which generate less heat. So all this happening, this is a terrific opportunity for India today, which has never been available till now. Mine, Professor Mahajan from Austin, and he wrote a book many years ago, which was called The 86%. What did this 86%? What he says is that the 86% of the world's population sits in India, Africa, Middle East, China, and rest of Asia. Professor Marathe, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll take off from, were you able to, did I lose for a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So fundamentally, many such situations are happening around this 86% opportunity. If 86% of the world lives in these countries, how can Americans and Europeans make products for the 86% of the world? Because they don't understand this 86% of the world. They understand the 14% of the world, which is advanced, which is called Western countries. But today, the economy in the Western countries is going down. And these 86% are going up. So people have to make products today for 86% of the world. So suddenly about 10 years, 15 years ago, a lot of global companies started to come to India to set up their R&D centers in India. Started with Texas Instruments, went on to General Electric, went on to many automobile companies, went on to many engineering companies. And today, there are more than 1,000 of these R&D centers in India. And these are great opportunities for engineers and designers to work in these companies. So you don't need to look for jobs just in software. As I said, you could be looking at engineering, R&D, design jobs. A lot of the so-called software companies are today doing engineering and R&D exports. HCL, the company that I founded, today has more than 20,000-30,000 design engineers who are designing for the world. And under the NASSCOM umbrella, which is called software, hides $38 billion worth of R&D exports, which are being done by many Indian companies and these 1,000 global companies that are sitting here. So a lot of people think that only software exports are happening. No, engineering and R&D exports, which constitute $38 billion, are happening from India today. And India is the world's leader in engineering and R&D exports. So that's really what I wanted to say, is that these countries are all looking at India today to come and design here for the 86% of the world. And that is where you as engineers coming out of an institution will have terrific opportunities. Now, you could tomorrow go and join an engineering and design company. Tomorrow, you could start your own design company, maybe a design company that makes tablets, maybe a design company that makes air conditioners, maybe a design company that makes different kinds of products. An IIT Bombay startup created a completely new technology for a very simple thing like a fan. And they created a DC fan, which is called a BLDC technology. They were the first in the country to innovate on that. What does it do? Fundamentally, it reduces the cost of running a fan. Company. And what does happen? I had to switch to this. But then yesterday I met somebody who's going to go to the next step on making this fan, another startup. So a lot of innovation is happening through startups, and they are going to be changing the world. Now let's start to look at something slightly different. If we look at either you do a job, you go to a Microsoft, or you go to a HCL, or you go to an Infosys, take a job, get a logo, and be happy. Santusht ho jaiye. Or you take the different route and become a real engineer doing engineering work. The big change that's going to happen in engineering and manufacturing is that Industry 4.0 is coming to the country. Industry 4.0 combines regular engineering and manufacturing with IT. And you use a lot of artificial intelligence and machine language, etc. And that is what is called Industry 4.0. Today, there are not that many people in India engineers who understand Industry 4.0. So therefore, tomorrow's requirement is going to be around Industry 4.0 engineers. Now, in addition to all of this, either you take up a job or you create your own business or become an entrepreneur, or there are some other models which are emerging. And one of those models is called gig workers. What do gig workers do? Gig workers don't do a job. They work for themselves on their own without any partner. So a gig worker is a new concept which has happened in the last 3 to 4 years. There are many gig workers in India. You can find all the delivery boys. They're all gig workers. Job A today, job B tomorrow, job C tomorrow, day after. They work for different companies. But that's very low level. If you start look at engineering work, you could be sitting in India with a computer and designing a product for anywhere in the world. So this kind of gig working is going to be another way of looking at life tomorrow. Some people, instead of calling it gig working, they call it portfolio working. Portfolio working means that you work for 10 different companies and do 10 different things, and you earn probably much more than doing a single job. And you could be doing this for anybody, anywhere in the world. So basically, you then can do what you like to do rather than what you don't like to do. And you don't have a full-time job. You don't have the security of so-called security of a full-time job. But then young people today are willing to take many, many more risks than any of us yesterday took. Today, if you see, there's this big discussion going on in software companies, whether they should allow the people within software companies to work for other companies. Because if they are going to work from home, they could be doing work for Infosys. At the same time, they could be working for another company globally. So suddenly the software companies have a new problem. They are wanting to restrict these people not to work for others. But if you take a decision that I'm not going to work for anybody, and I'm going to work for myself, and I'm going to work for 10 other companies globally, that's a great choice you will have tomorrow. So all these things are happening. And interestingly, I would suggest that literally every engineer, every engineering course that is being run today in your college should integrate computing inside. Because to my mind, if you are an engineer and you have a knowledge of AI and ML, you will be better placed tomorrow. And it'll add a new dimension to what you know. So everybody is now thinking like this. And what does it help you do? You become a much better manager as you go forward. A lot of you may probably, after doing engineering, decide to work, and then after working for a few years, do a management degree. Now, this is something that was quite common till now. May not be that common in future, but this is something that clearly is an option which will be available to engineers. Now, one of the things that I started to work on many years ago in my career was not just be an engineer. I decided that I will have multiple interests in life. So till yesterday, there were a lot of discussion on how you have to be narrowly focused on one thing. And you must know everything about that narrow area. So there was concept of specialization. There was a concept of micro specialization. All these things have been happening in the last 10, 15 years. But all of that is being questioned today. Everybody is now talking about having a range of interests. And somehow in my career, in my life, I always had multiple interests. So I was very interested in photography. I was very interested in singing. I was very interested in classical music. I was very interested in literature. I was very interested in films, many, many areas. And so, as I tell a lot of engineers, when I meet them, I always use a word, and which is, don't be a nerd. If you're going to be just a nerd, you won't succeed in life. Have multiple interests. Do different things. See, most IITs that, I have taught in IIT Hyderabad. I used to teach entrepreneurship. I was the founder chairman of IIT Hyderabad. And one of the things that we changed when we started IIT Hyderabad was that we introduced a concept of fractals. And Professor, you remember you wrote to me once about fractals, right? So we started that in Hyderabad, and we started to teach different things to people. And somebody from mechanical was learning electronics, somebody from electronics were learning mechanical, somebody was learning humanities, somebody was learning literature, somebody was learning theater, somebody was learning how to speak well, etc., etc., etc. So all of this, to my mind, will make you a better human being. And it'll make you a better manager for tomorrow. Because then, with your terrific engineering base, with a great analytical mind, you will also have a view of the rest of the world. So yesterday, a lot of engineers, if they went into a banking job, used to have trouble. Yes, they had to learn a lot when they went into a banking job. But if you actually enter with all these newer capabilities and knowledge, you could be much better off. And I think a lot of software companies, when they hired engineers, they needed to literally retrain them to do things that they wanted them to do. And one of the areas that everybody worked on is what was called soft skills. And these soft skills were what? These soft skills were all about speaking English better and being able to write English better. Because if you are an engineer, you also have to write technical stuff. And if you can't write well, you can't write technical stuff well also. So these are all things that have been in fashion for a lot of time. Now, one of the things that I observe today is that a lot of young people are completely fascinated with their phones, and they're completely, therefore, fascinated with social media. Social media has literally overtaken your brain. It's something that you have to be part of. You must know what's happening, but you must learn to be able to be away from it at times that you want to do something different. So don't get so deeply engrossed in trying to find out what's happening every minute of the day. Try and keep clear time periods so that you are able to focus and do things that you really want to do. Otherwise, you will be always in this issue of Twitter. Where am I now? Where am I going? All that. Is that important? I don't think so. I also enter these things on Twitter. I am also very much in Facebook. I am also in every part of social media I participate. But I keep my time very separately for this. So don't get overwhelmed and overcovered. Don't let social media take you over. You should take over social media. And that's really what I would suggest you do. Now look at a lot of great engineers all over the world who have come out, and people who have been doing nuclear design, space work. Look at Sarabhai, look at all these, look at Homi Bhabha, how they actually were very much part of the initial growth of India. It's the engineers, Vishveshwaraya, who created literally the most critical aspects of irrigation in Karnataka. These engineers are the ones that created India. Today, if we are good in computing, a lot of people don't know, but the origins are with Homi Bhabha, because he set up Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, where the first Indian computer was designed. So a lot of these things have happened due to great engineers out of India and great engineers from all over the world. Today, if you talk about engineering and to talk about a top engineer in the world, in one breath, you talk about Satya Nadella and all these people. That's one breath. Another breath, you talk about Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk is an engineer par excellence. He's absolutely amazing. But he knows a lot about a lot of other things beyond engineering. He knows artificial intelligence. He's been warning the world about artificial intelligence. But on the other hand, he's using artificial intelligence to create driverless cars. These autonomous cars are, as they say, are a future of the world. I don't know. Because do they really work? Is he going to be able to make them work? There's a lot of opposition to what he's trying to do. But as I said, he has a range of knowledge, and that's why he's so successful. He's not a nerd. He doesn't know only one part. He knows many things. So I think that's really what is important for you to understand and appreciate, that there are these terrific opportunities ahead as you look at your own area of engineering, and that's where you should excel. Do well at civil engineering, because look, India's infrastructure is still very poor. It's improved, but it's still very, very poor. It needs to come to global standards. Our roads and highways have taken a leap in the last 10 to 15 years, but a lot needs to be done. I'm part of a NGO that works on saving lives for accidents that happen in India. India is the accident capital of the world. 1.5 lakh people die every year on roads. And the maximum reason for people dying on the roads are two. Engineering design of our roads is extremely poor. You look at the recent accident that happened where Cyrus Mistry died. What happened there? Everybody talks about this lady speeding. She was at 80 kilometers an hour. It's not speeding. Why did Cyrus Mistry die? And when my NGO went into the depth of finding the problem, it was due to poor engineering design. The road was actually meeting a wall which was protruding out to the road. So that protrusion from the wall is actually what caused the accident. So this is what it is all about. If we are going to have world-class infrastructure, we will need world-class civil engineers and architects so that we make great, great roads and infrastructure. I think, interestingly, entrepreneurship is something that I have propagated for a very, very long time. And when I was starting out IIT Hyderabad, the first thing that we did in IIT Hyderabad, in addition to the multiple fractal courses, was to start a minor in entrepreneurship. And we decided that a lot of people think that entrepreneurs are born. Entrepreneurs are not born. Entrepreneurs can be created. You can learn how to be an entrepreneur. You need education to learn how to be an entrepreneur. So we started a minor in entrepreneurship, and I used to teach there. And the reason why I taught is that it's very important for people, students, to be able to learn entrepreneurship. And after learning and being taught entrepreneurship, they can take a good direction towards being an entrepreneur. So I think this is something that it's really important for people to look at. Now, a lot of people, when I meet, and they want to be entrepreneurs, but they don't know how to go about it. That's where getting taught on entrepreneurship is a good idea. So many times I meet people who want to be entrepreneurs and they are very confused. And they're saying, oh, I don't have money. How do I get started? Oh, I don't have people. How do I get started? So this is how it all starts, with a lot of confusion in your mind. And then you actually start to decide, what do you want to do? What product you want to make? Which service do you want to deliver? How you want to be competitive? All those issues come along. And one of the things that one of my professors in Michigan taught me, Dr. C.K. Prahlad, he was one of the greatest strategists that was ever created in the world. And he used to always have a formula for this. He used to say, A is greater than R. Now this A stands for very simple thing. It stands for aspiration. And R stands for resources. So he used to always say, if you have the aspiration, you will get the resources to make things happen. So it's all about you can actually succeed. Let me give you an example. When we were starting out HCL, we wanted to make computers in India. At that time, in 1996, to make a computer out of microprocessors. Microprocessors were just making an appearance. And we said, let's take the microprocessor and change the world. I mean, we were dreamers. We decided to dream and create a hardware company and make computers. But to make computers, we needed money. Those days, there were no angels or companies which would actually give you funding. They are called VCs today. They didn't exist. So when we were starting out, we initially started a little trading company. And we said, let's create some cash. But the biggest challenge that we faced at that time, and that's why I'm talking about A is greater than R. We wanted to make computers, but we were too small. We were a startup. And we did not have a license to make computers. Those days, you needed a license, and the licenses were given to big companies or to government companies. So what did we do? We went to UP government, who had a license already for manufacturing computers. We joined hands with them and created a company called Hindustan Computers Limited as a joint sector company of UP government in India. Later on, we bought the equity back from the UP government. But that's how HCL was created. So HCL was created with 1.86 lakhs between the six of us who started this trading company, then went on to make this joint venture with UP government. And today, HCL is a $10 billion company located in 35, 40 countries all over the world with 200,000 employees. To me, that's a terrific example of A is greater than R. If you have the aspiration, resources happen. If you don't aspire, you don't succeed. So I think that's really the message I wanted to leave with all of you today. And also to say that don't always choose the easier way of life. For me and for my team that chose to do hardware and create products in India, design products in India in electronics, we took the difficult route. As I've always said for a long time, hardware is hard, software is soft. And this happened to me once when I went to meet Mr. Jaswant Singh, who was finance minister at one particular time in the government. And as I was entering his room, he says, "Are you from hardware or software?" So I said, "I'm from hardware." He says, "Come down. If you were from software, I would not ask. Software guys have had a soft time." I don't really say that software guys have had a soft time. They've also done a lot of great work. But I chose the different way. I chose to be in hardware. And I chose to be in electronics. I chose to be a person who pursued design and manufacturing in India in electronics. I've been part of literally every government committee telling the government for a very long time that if we don't make our own electronics in India, the import bill for electronics will be higher than the oil bill. Every minister has repeated what I said 15, 20 years ago. In every lecture that they give, they all talk about the same thing. Electronics will be higher than oil bill. Last 5 years, 7 years, electronics has really, really happened in India. We are now starting to make waves in electronics manufacturing. Today, we are the second largest manufacturer of mobile phones in the world. All that is happening. I started this whole thinking and revolution around electronics many, many years ago. And I kept telling the government, we must do electronics. Interestingly, last few years, government has also decided to do something about semiconductors. And there is a proper semiconductor policy today. I wrote the first policy for semiconductors 20 years ago. Nobody listened to me then. Suddenly last year, when there was huge shortage of semiconductors, the Indian government realized they better do something about it. And today, I am an advisor to the India Semiconductor Mission. And we are going to make semiconductors in this country. And we are going to design semiconductors in this country in a very big way. So things are changing. A lot of things, as I say, the road less traveled is more difficult. I took the road less traveled. I went to hardware rather than software. And I sort of made it work. So I think it's one major thing that I always talk about is having deep focus. What you want to do, electronics happen in this country. And fortunately for me, in my lifetime, I'm seeing it happen. Is just fire things will happen. Thank you. So, Professor Murali, I done my lecture.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. There are a few questions from the audience that I will ask.
Sure. Sure.
Yes, sir. The biggest question which students have, which has come in mind of students, that whether artificial intelligence, in fact, actually in the first day, I also explained same thing, that AI is the future, but students feel that is it a boon or curse? Means something like atomic energy will happen with AI.
They are absolutely right. It can be a boon or curse. Because if used rightly, it's a terrific boon. Because it assists our own brain in taking decisions. But if used wrongly, it can be a huge problem for the world. And there are a lot of naysayers for AI in the world also. Because in the wrong hands, AI can be very dangerous.
Then one more question, as you have also pointed out, that even if we find that trained is with computers, not only here, but even IITs. So those who are getting admission in non-CSIT branches, as you said that they should pursue engineering career and all, take interest in their core domain, but there's always a disturbance. It's now an IT distraction, what we can think of. So that is always in mind of the student, especially when we listen about the packages. So how do we overcome this, what we can say, dilemma, especially non-CSIT students? Hello. Hello.
Sorry, we got disconnected.
Yeah. Hello. Hiya. So the question is that how non-CSIT students should balance between their core competency, and as you have said that in IIT Hyderabad you started minor in
Professor got connected. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So as I was mentioning, Mahindra's is a very successful engineering company. They make tractors. They do a lot of engineering products, including automobiles. And Anand Mahindra is a model who's an engineer who has created an engineering company which is so successful. So it's not that only IT companies are successful. Engineering companies are also successful. And he became so big that he went and bought an IT company. And so he runs an IT company as a small part of his business, but he has engineering as the main product and company. So I think it's the packages that, you're right, the packages are the ones that attract people. But tomorrow's world is going to be very different. And it's not necessary that only IT will be successful. As I said earlier, you should definitely have knowledge of IT, whichever engineering branch you are in, because that's what will be required tomorrow.
Yes, sir. In our college, we have a minor program. So students from other engineering disciplines as well can have minor in CS. So
wonderful. That's the right way to do.
So bright students, so there's one issue that bright students from other disciplines, should they focus more in their own domain, or in a majority they should join for minor in CS?
You see, if they do minor in CS, that's good enough, because that knowledge of technology and IT will be very valuable for them in whatever job that they do tomorrow. And I very sincerely believe that there's going to be a huge requirement for engineering and R&D out of India, because the world is getting older. Many good engineers and researchers in different parts of the world are too old to work anymore. Japan is aging, Europe is aging, India has the opportunity.
Okay, sir. Then one more question for bright students. See, our college is not a top ranking like IIT. In Maharashtra, we are the third. It's a very old college and very reputed college. In Maharashtra, we are ranking third rank in the admission, first year admissions. So normally the placements are 100%, but not in very top, means very few students are able to get a very bright placement as such. Now, for the brighter students, what should be their approach? Should they go for MS abroad, MTech at IIT by doing GATE, or should they go for CAT, or should they go for first placement? It's big. A few students have raised this question.
All bright students should start to be an entrepreneur or set up a design company. That's what I would tell them for tomorrow, because that's where the opportunity for the world is today from India. India is going to be a country that will lead the world in engineering and R&D. I have great faith in that. Today, as I said, India exports $38 billion of engineering and design capability.
Right, sir.
So set up your own design company, set up your own startup, and do different things rather than just looking at going in.
Yes, sir. We also have innovation and incubation.
Really interested in research only. Go to a PhD, even then you can always talk about entrepreneurship being the best solution for people.
Right, sir. Thank you for your very precious time, and even at the short notice, you have been kind enough to like this together. Students at our place, we have came to know about when we are going through a biodata, we came to know about EPIC Foundation. We would like to explore whether students at this place can be part of an NGO to carry forward the agenda which was setting for you. We also expect that you can enlighten the student in some time later in the career for the purpose of entrepreneurship in a focused manner. I would like to express my sincere thanks to you for sparing valuable time and guiding the students. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All the best, students. Do well.
Thank you, sir. It was a blessing to hear from you. I would like to thank you once again from all the students, parents, and all the dignitaries present here.
Now it is time for the campus discussion held by the place volunteers. Now-
Okay, then I will disconnect now.
Okay, so we can close the meeting. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Circulating with feedback form, the